Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, I just want to extend an apology from our technical team. The rain delayed some of their setup this morning, so I know that some of you were already seated while they were getting things together, and we hope that everything will run smoothly this morning. Thank you for your patience. We are about to begin our program this morning. My name is Diane Mahia. I am pleased to be able to be your Director of Ceremonies this morning. Welcome and happy Independence Day to everyone. Thank you for being here with us this morning. In just a minute, we'll begin this morning with the arrival of Her Worship, the Mayor of Belmopan. Mayor Sharon Palacio will be joining us in a minute. The music that we have been hearing so far comes from the military band, the 156th Army Band from Bossier City, Louisiana, along with our Belize Defense Force Band, and I'll be sharing a little bit more information on the band with you shortly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we begin this morning announcing the arrival of the Mayor of the City of Belmopan. Her Worship, Mayor Sharon Palacio, is now coming in this morning. As the Mayor comes in, I mentioned that we have our friends from Bossier City, Louisiana here. The 156th Army Band is under the command and directed by Chief Warrant Officer 4, Wade A. Furness. The 156th Army Band is known as Louisiana's own, and it has a long and proud history that dates back to 1937. Currently, the band has a total of 40 members, and 12 of them are here today. The band comprises several musical performance teams that include a marching band, concert band, brass ensemble, woodwind ensemble, jazz combo, and rock band. The 156th Army Band proudly supports the citizens of the state of Louisiana and emphatically treasures the state partnership that we have with the Belize Defense Force Band. Our Belize Defense Force Band is evolving from a volunteer band to a full-time military band. Its roots can be traced back to Mount Pleasant Creek in the Cayo district, where a corps of drums was established for the then volunteer guard. The BDF band today falls under the Service and Support Battalion of the Belize Defense Force. It has a full-time staff of 12 members and is the only military musical ensemble in the country of Belize. The band is pleased to have the support of the 156th Army Band for Belize's independence celebrations. The very first time both bands performed together was in 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Worship, Mayor Sharon Palacio, Mayor of the City of Belmopan. Good morning, Mayor. The very first time both bands performed together was in 2006 for the dedication of the present United States Embassy in Belmopan. The day-to-day management of the BDF band is done by Staff Sergeant Trevor Major, the bandmaster. The administration is the responsibility of the Director of Music, Major Kevin Campbell. Ladies and gentlemen, the mass band of the Louisiana National Guard and the Belize Defense Force. You know, ladies and gentlemen, today, obviously, it's our birthday, so that's a special day already. But one of the things that makes today's celebration particularly important is that we have visitors literally from all over the world today. Just to mention, as we are getting started, this morning we have representatives from Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Egypt, France, Georgia, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Nicaragua, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland, in addition to the members of the Diplomatic Corps and Consular Corps who are with us more regularly in Belize. I really want to just take a moment to acknowledge you all and welcome you and thank you for being here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I announce the arrival of the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Moses Barrow. Thank you to the band of the Louisiana National Guard and the Belize Defense Force. Ladies and gentlemen, the arrival now of the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Moses Barrow, and Mrs. Barrow. No, just the Honorable. On September 10th, 1964, the father of the nation, the Honorable George Price, addressed our people. And he said then that we unite to build a nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Moses Barrow. In 1964, the father of our nation said, "We unite to build a nation." Most Belizeans want an independent and sovereign Belize, but there are some persons who are against it. They say the people are too few and the country too small and too poor to have its independence. To those who doubt, honestly or not, in our ability to be free Belizeans, I would recall a sentence Victor Hugo wrote on the measure of greatness. There is no such thing as a little country. The greatness of a people is no more determined by their number than the greatness of a man is determined by his height. All true Belizeans agree with Victor Hugo. We are a small but a great people, and we are a country with a great future. On this National Day, we pay tribute to our Belizean people and their present and future generations. In 1964, ladies and gentlemen, the father of the nation already was thinking ahead to the struggles that we would face. We are awaiting now the arrival of Honorable Madam Justice Louise Blenman, and we're grateful for the music of our friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the arrival of the Honorable Madam Justice Louise Blenman, Chief Justice of Belize. Ladies and gentlemen, the arrival of the Honorable Madam Justice Louise Blenman, Chief Justice of Belize. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the Premier made a speech in May of 1979. There was a convention happening, and he said at that speech, "The period in which we live can be a blessing or a curse. Whatever happens, let us make it a blessing for all people. All is not lost. Let us continue to build on the solid structures we have cast. Trim our sails to the winds that blow and advance to a better future. To this end, we must not withdraw to what appears safe and untroubled isolation. We have a duty to the region to work together for the common good and to effectively safeguard freedom in the midst of political pluralism. We have a duty to the region to promote justice and equality in a truly participatory society so that applying rightly the power of science and technology, we create resources for all to share and thus rescue humanity from underdevelopment. These are the objectives that loom before us. Let us go forward with the prayer that the God of the universe, almighty and eternal, bless our work and guide us by his counsel and fortitude. 1979. How true is it? The period in which we live can be both a blessing and a curse. His words resound today. As we wait now for the arrival of our Prime Minister, I invite our band once again to thrill us with their music. Yes, there's no honorable Francis, and then we're just adding in the members of the clergy. But you can write
have any more of this?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the arrival of our Prime Minister, the Honorable John Briceño. When you live in a tropical country, you cannot be deterred by rain, even on your nation's birthday. The Prime Minister will receive the Prime Minister's salute as he arrives. Ladies and gentlemen, the arrival of the Honorable John Briceño, Prime Minister of Belize, and Mrs. Briceño, Special Envoy for Families and Children. Kindly stand.
General salute! Reset! Up! Shoulder!
Join me in welcoming our Prime Minister, the Honorable John Briceño. Please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will have the arrival of Her Excellency Dame Froila Salam, Governor General of Belize.
Shut!
We recognize the arrival of Her Excellency Dame Froila Salam, Governor General of Belize. The Governor General will also receive the royal salute. We also welcome retired Captain Mr. Daniel Mendez.
Royal salute! Present! Arms! Hey! Shoulder up! Up! Hey! Order! Up!
The Governor General will now do the inspection of the Guard of Honor.
Alright! Shoulder up!
Ladies and gentlemen, the Governor General of Belize, Her Excellency Dame Froila Salam. And we will now see the march off of the Belize Defense Force.
The parade will march off! Alright! Alright! Alright!
Please be seated.
At the hall! Change direction, right! Right! Boom! Quick! March!
Ladies and gentlemen, please let us recognize the 156th Army Band from Bossier City, Louisiana, and the Belize Defense Force Band. Good morning again to everyone. Her Excellency, Dame Froila Salam, Governor General of Belize, retired Captain, Mr. Daniel Mendez, Honorable John Briceño, Prime Minister of Belize, and Mrs. Rosanna Briceño, good morning. Honorable Louise Blenman, Chief Justice of Belize, Honorable Moses Barrow, Leader of the Opposition, and Her Worship, Mayor Sharon Palacio, Mayor of the City of Belmopan, good morning to you. Speaker of the House of Representatives, President of the Senate, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the House of Representatives and the Cabinet, members of the Senate, members of the clergy, chief executive officers, heads of departments, other government officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Belizeans, happy Independence Day. Good morning to you all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Now we're talking. Yeah, right? It's absolutely wonderful to be here with you today. We're grateful to you all for being with us to celebrate Belize's 42nd birthday on this morning. We will begin our ceremony with no more fanfare. We begin this morning with the invocation by Major Jonathan Kelman. I call Major Kelman to come to deliver his invocation to get us started this morning. Good morning, sir.
Let's stand for a prayer. Almighty God, we stand here today with hearts of gratitude as we commemorate the achievement of independence for the nation of Belize 42 years. From the time our flag was first raised, we have declared in our national prayer that we would not feel fortified on our journey of development unless we were covered by your provision, your protection, your guidance, and your presence. And at the age of 42, we once again pause to affirm our faith in you and our dependence on your grace and your mercy. We thank you for those who have made their contribution to the positive development of our country, but have passed into eternity since last year's independence celebration. We remember them, we appreciate them, and we will endeavor to build on the legacy left by them. But as we lift our hearts to you this morning, we pray that from proud Rio Hondo to Old Sarstoon, through Coral Island, over Blue Lagoon, every citizen of this country and every resident who calls Belize their home will endeavor to embrace and personalize the ideals of this year's independence theme. We see that you have carried us through the ravages of a pandemic, natural disasters, and economic challenges. And therefore, we ask you to help us to live united, with hopefully ignited, walking hand in hand all over this land, and working side by side, hearts overflowing with pride. Fill us with inspiration and renew our vision. Bless the leaders of this country. Provide for every family. Comfort the grieving and lonely, and guide us safely to 43. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for that lovely prayer. May all the amens, which were a little low still in volume, I think, but, you know, may they all resonate to heaven and keep us safe for one another year. I would like to now call Her Worship Mayor Sharon Palacio, Mayor of Belmopan, to deliver the welcome remarks this morning.
A pleasant good morning, everyone. Protocol has been established, so it's a massive welcome. Bienvenidos. And in my language, I say Mabuga. As your mayor of the nation's capital, it gives me great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you. We must first give thanks to our Almighty Father, who continues to take care of us. We must give thanks to the many men and women who made it their life's work to secure independence for us to enjoy today. We know that this was a task for giants and the brave. We must recognize them every time we can. Names like Honorable George Cadle Price, Honorable Philip Golson, Lee Richardson, and Gwen Lizarraga are names that will transcend time. To those who have never been recognized, let us reaffirm our love and honor to them. While many of you might not know the struggles for independence, especially our young people who now constitute the majority in Belize, I believe that it is our duty to connect the dots. We must ask why our people were dedicated to fighting for independence. What was their mindsets? Why did some go to jail and risk their lives for an independent Belize? Why was such a sacrifice necessary? 2 weeks ago, I met a gentleman at the Bullfrog restaurant, a great man, a Rotarian, who had chosen to serve humanity, who shared with me that the tragedy of Belize is that we rhapsodize our men and women when they are dead and vilify them in life. Yet wisdom demands that we lionize men and women who have done good when they are alive. Today, we must choose to lionize you when you're alive. As people, we are still entrapped in our colonial thinking that even though world trends require a shift, many continue to hold on to the old system. My fellow Belizeans, it is high time we break the shackles that keep us from progress. To change, we must. It is not in the current psyche of most Belizeans, both male and female, that a black Garifuna woman is nothing else except the object of charity that deserves our mercy and pity, incapable of contributing to nation building. To change narratives, we need to change behavior and first realize our self-worth and our self-belief. Our leaders and citizens constantly conform the European caricatures and objects of pity. Listen, we cannot win the narrative battle by arguing in pockets. They are happy to see us talking about our localized and indigenized oppression, but now is the time for us to make a change. Let's not engage in this romanticist view that there can only be one way to learn. We must first indigenize knowledge, learn from each other the diverse cultures and traditions. We must diversify who we learn from, as everybody has something to teach, and we must domesticate what we learn. As the first female mayor of our garden city, I have had to stand firm for principle and be the David amongst giants to accomplish the impossible. Ladies, don't you ever think for a second that being a woman in leadership in Belize comes with any special privileges. Women, we have a long way to go. To change the trajectory for women in politics, we need our men. Remember, we do need two wings to fly. And if one wing becomes incapacitated, the bird will not be able to fly. Despite not having our subvention coming to the council to support our operations, due to debts, and I won't call name, but of course it was incurred by my predecessor, the UDP administration. I found a bed of corruption, everything that you can possibly imagine. But we won't go there because today is a day to celebrate. Under my leadership, and with the help of Minister Fonseca from the Ministry of Education, because education for me is poor people's riches, and it does empower the nation. And I constantly go to his ministry, and I must say, from the time I assumed office to now, we've gotten scholarships for over 120 young persons to the tune of over $300,000. I must say, a million thanks to our Honorable Briceño's administration. Due to our outreach, we have been able to partner with organizations, private donors, and regular citizens and receive great support for a back-to-school drive, which was a massive success. This council facilitated small businesses in Belmopan, and thanks to our business community who have shown great support and confidence in their mayor to the extent that I've acquired the name, the People's Mayor. We've increased collections, maintained streets as best as we could, paved our streets, and created a food bank to help our single women in motherhood and their families. I am so passionate about single women in motherhood because my mother, Rose Zacharias Palacio, she was brave enough to leave Punta Gorda with her 7 children, 6 boys. I'm the only feminine representative. And she heard that her husband had just returned from Trinidad and Tobago, where he pursued the first person to train dogs in Belize. I can never forget the names of the dogs, Lobo and Rex. Am I right, Commissioner? Maybe you're too young. So, when my mother heard, because in those days we didn't have cell phones and so on and so forth, but she heard her husband was given a house to live in there at the police training school. So she quickly gathered her 7 children, I can recall, with one simple plastic bag. All of us had a simple plastic bag, and we arrived at the police training school. When we arrived, as kids, we were very excited, and in those days the streets were very bad. And my mother stepped out of the truck. The name of the truck was Charger Truck. And she walked up to the guard room, and she asked for her husband, my father, my beloved father. My father spinned around like a top. And he looked at my mom and he said, "You're on your own. Why you had to do this?" So my mother, a brave woman, she exempts all trials and tribulations. She made us walk from police training school, and we passed right in front of her. As a child, I thought it was long, but it was very close. And we arrived at a relative's home, right there on Ambergris Avenue. And I can understand now as a big woman why when the relatives saw 7 children, along with her sister, and in her house it was only a 2-bedroom home, it was normal for her to react the way she reacted. Anyhow, with this, in less than about 3 days, a group of guys who were from down south, they heard about what was happening, and they gave us half of a duplex. And there's where we lived, and we lived happy. We quickly got into the comprehensive high school. In those days, they didn't ask about any verification. So my mother was able to say, this one goes into second form, this one goes into standard 5, standard 6, and they accepted all of us. I say all this to say that I came here when I was 12 years old, and without the shadow of a doubt, I love Belmopan, and I am sure that under my leadership, Belmopan has maintained, despite the difficulties, we work on cleanliness. I can recall the Honorable George Cadle Price walking on the walkway and always reminding us to pick up the garbage. And that is something I want to leave with everyone here today. So with next to no equipment, we've managed to get the job done. The Belmopan City Council, as I said before, was a sunken ship. And when this administration took office, one must appreciate the tremendous effort employed simply to keep us afloat. One would think that with intelligent people in office, and I'm referring to my own council, they would be ready to support development. For those of you who don't know, we had and still have the opportunity to invest in a $10 million bond to help develop our nation's capital. Even after I agreed to the added conditions imposed by my council, they have refused to sign. In trying to undermine my leadership, let it be known that our people are looking and they deserve better. Citizens and the nation's highest leadership, I challenge you to take this matter up as a case in point for problem solving for the benefit of the citizens of my beloved Garden City. When you have plenty of enemies following you, bumper to bumper, and praying for you to fail, you must cleverly sidestep their landmines and coast to victory, leaving a legacy. With only 6 months remaining for me to deliver this Garden City, I want to reassure the People's United Party that I stand ready to deliver the city of Belmopan once I'm given the opportunity. In closing, I want to leave you with what the great Alexander the Great, said. Alexander died at the age of 32 in June 323. Before he died, he called his generals and he said, "Sit down and I'm going to give you the following instructions. I want you to get my physician as soon as you know that I'm dead. Get all my physicians and tell them that I want them to be the ones to take me to my grave. And after that, I want them to find all the money that I own and for them to sprinkle the money along the path where they're going to take my body. And then he said, the last thing I want from you is to make sure that you put me in the coffin and have my arms wide open." So the generals asked, "But why are you telling us this?" So he responded, "Of my physicians, that it may be known that when death comes, not even the best of physicians can protect you." And then he said, when it comes to money, you never carry your wealth with you. Wealth means nothing. And when it comes to me, to him opening his arms, he said, into the world he came empty-handed. And the last advice, he said that the only thing that we must do in our lifetime is to ensure all that we do, that it is good for humanity. Hope ignited, hands united, vision renewed. Thank you very much. In my language, I say, Sereme. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for your welcome remarks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium the Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Moses Barrow, for his Independence Day address.
Thank you. Thank you, Mistress of Ceremony. You know, I promised to behave today, but after that speech from the Mayor, so truthful and so candid, I will say, Mayor, you don't have to worry, because in March, the UDP will win Belmopan, so all of your problems will disappear. A pleasant good morning to all of you. I welcome all of you. I am so happy to be here with all of you. Even my political opponent who raised the gas price at midnight, I forgive you. Still my brother in independence. Good morning and blessings to the Governor General, Her Excellency Froila Salam, Prime Minister Honorable John Briceño and Mrs. Briceño, Chief Justice Blenman, and other members of the judiciary, members of cabinet, members of the opposition, members of the Senate, Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, the clerk and staff of the National Assembly, Her Worship, outgoing Mayor of Belmopan, Sharon Palacio, Minister of Education and Chairman of the National Celebrations Committee, who I will concede is very generous as Minister of Education. I thank you on behalf of the Mesopotamia people for your generosity. Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the clergy, see Bishop Mengoshe there, heroic commanders of the armed forces, civil society, our brilliant children and teachers from schools all across the beautiful city of Belmopan, other distinguished guests, and those tuned in at home and in the diaspora, my fellow Belizeans. Today we celebrate our 42nd independence. 45 years old. I still consider myself young, so we are a young nation with so much potential. We celebrate this day with the equal measure of national pride and exhilaration attached to the Battle of St. George's Key we recently celebrated on the 10th day of September, which marks 225 years since our forebears, including the Flowers Bank 14, made the pivotal trek to make the pivotal decision to stay and defend Belize against the mighty Spain. Just as the Battle of St. George's Key underlines the iron will embedded in our Belizean DNA, so does our battle for independence against the British colonizers, which was won on this glorious 21st day of September, 42 years ago. There is a powerful theme that defines a Belizean people who, though faced with improbabilities and impossibilities, always find the invincibility that lies deep within us, deep within all the human souls, to defy reasonable expectations of defeat, triumphing over all adversaries and adversities. We faced insurmountable odds of defeat when we chose to defend our homeland against a more manned and militarily powerful Spain. So did national heroes George Price and Philip Goldson, along with heroic nationalists such as Leigh Richardson, among many others, when they led the resistance against the colonizers, the British monarchy, and demanded our independence. Our national heroes were arrested, they were incarcerated, they were maligned and undermined in the battle for independence. Yet that ancestral spirit prevailed as it did 225 years ago, when we preferred to risk our lives for Belize rather than cower and retreat from the tyrant invaders from Spain. This is who we are. Never surrendering to the odds, never retreating from the giant tasks life presents us. From birth, we were built to be bold, built to be our best. We are Belizeans. Now more than ever, that spirit of resistance is needed as we face a new foe in a battle for mental liberation and economic independence. The Flowers Bank 14 did not make their way to Belize town to cast their deciding vote, to stand and fight the tyrants from Spain, who had one of the most powerful militaries in the world. George Price and Philip Golson did not risk their freedom and persecution for us to have anything less than complete freedom, which requires a liberation of the mind and economic independence. This battle for complete freedom and economic independence will only come when more of you in this audience and those watching and listening, when more of you find the Flowers Bank 14, the George Price, the Golson, the Sabaranis, the Maud Williams, the Gwen Liz spirit that lies within each and every Belizean, regardless of ethnicity, gender, religion, or orientation. We are all one Belize, with one spirit of ingenuity, indomitability, and invincibility that we must find within our souls in order to triumph over the despots who stand between poverty and wealth creation, illiteracy and access to education as a human right, access to quality public health care as a human right, affordable housing as a human right. The embattled Briceño administration, mired in the Portico corruption, Senate investigation, accusations of ministerial sexual assault, murderous land corruption, among other dubious acts of bad governance, has borrowed almost $1 billion in 3 years, yet we are further away from that economic independence and complete freedom than ever. Instead of constitutional reform that will expand our rights, give greater protection to our rights, give greater freedoms, and strengthen our democracy, our Constitution is being weaponized to target the opposition and disenfranchise segments of our society. Instead of protecting our borders and preserving our territorial integrity, the Sarstoon has been neglected by the government. In the name of patriotism, the opposition registers its condemnation of the Guatemalan armed forces' breach of our territorial integrity by entering Belize to remove 3 of our national flags from our Sarstoon on the day that we celebrated the Battle of St. George's Key. We are a peaceful nation, a nation that prefers to live in harmony with our neighbors, including Guatemala. But we will never compromise our territorial integrity. The Guatemalan armed forces entering Belizean territory to remove our flags is a flagrant use of force which is unacceptable, an act that is against international law and established protocols of the Confidence Building Measures Agreement, which explicitly states that neither nation shall use force or the threat of force to pursue their position with respect to the territorial differendum. The BTV and all Belizean women, children, and men should not face intimidation, aggression, and harassment by the Guatemalan armed forces when traveling to our territory at the Sarstoon. The Briceño administration must accept its share of blame for this latest violation by the GAF due to its neglect and abandonment of the Sarstoon forward operating base, constant patrols of that area of our territory. The House of Representatives recently approved $1 million to construct a new Sarstoon FOB a few months ago. Some of that allocation should have been used to immediately construct a makeshift dwelling for our military to remain stationed at Sarstoon to ensure our omnipresence in that area of our Belizean territory. Let us unify, come together as one nation in our call for the Guatemalan government, the OAS, and the group of friends to ensure the Guatemalan armed forces refrain from violating Belizean territorial integrity in the Sarstoon. As we face those external threats, we face similar threats in our home affairs. Our judiciary is terribly underfunded, with our Belizean judicial officers being paid disproportionately, disrespectfully less than the foreign judicial officers. I love my CARICOM brothers and sisters, but this is certainly not what Michael Manley had in mind when he was championing regional integration. On the eve of our independence, our judicial officers are protesting at the High Court due to insufficient pay and inadequate security. Prosecutors are constantly threatened, with a witness in a recent murder trial a few weeks ago being executed after he testified against the accused murderer. Again, let us join together, let us unify in our call for the Prime Minister to pay our Belizean judicial officers their worth and provide adequate security for prosecutors and witnesses. Treat our Belizean judicial officers with the dignity and respect they deserve. An underfunded, demoralized judiciary adversely impacts our citizen security, which is why security continues to worsen. With just a few days ago, the High Court Justice from Trinidad and Tobago suffering a home invasion, murders and violent crimes more shocking and frequent. In this beautiful city of Belmopan, let us not forget the Ramna Race and Vivian Belize. Let us not forget the young mother sleeping in her bed on Plou Street, executed, her daughter shot. Gun license and impunity being sold to the highest bidder, thanks to a hapless Minister of Police and a dinosaur Prime Minister who is merely an artifact in the Museum of Disconnect and Tone Deaf. We can and we must do better. We should not be spending $220 million on infrastructure while our public hospitals are in a deteriorated state without basic necessities, leading our nurses and our doctors to protest the deplorable conditions. We should never cut the police budget and the human development budget while wantonly increasing investments in streets and highways that this PUP government said was a road to corruption. Let not the aforementioned failures dampen our spirit, for we are a buoyant people, a people that at 42 will not allow celebration of our independence to be confined to the podium. We are people that will demand our leaders celebrate independence every day with legislation and public policies that underline patriotism, underline national development. I've been all around the world in my 45 years on this planet, extremely fortunate. I've been to Africa, Europe, the UK. I consider the United States my second home, Canada, Latin America, all throughout the region, in the Caribbean. I just visited Prime Minister Mitchell and the leader of the opposition, Dr. Keith Mitchell, in Grenada. And I testify that Belizeans are as good as anyone in the world. Belizeans are worthy of a good quality of life as the basic standard, with limitless potential for luxury, opulence, whatever it is you imagine and vision for yourself based on our capacity. At the very minimum, Belizeans deserve quality public health care, access to education and vocational training, affordable housing, citizen security, access to financing for entrepreneurship, whether in the orange economy, music industry, or any MSME. Belizeans deserve it all. Just as we deserved our independence and the British dismissed us and they told George Price he was a madman, but he knew what we deserved. In our new fight, we deserve it all. That colonial mindset that we should just be happy to exist must be put in the dustbins where it belongs. And my UDP government in waiting will work with the Belizean people to ensure they get it all. Whether through protest, whether through activism, we will work with the civil society and all social partners to bring about the Belize that you all deserve. That is the beauty and the divinity of democracy. The people have the power, all the power. The power to elect, the power to reject. That freedom is what we celebrate today, because in colonial times we had no such freedom. Just as the Prime Minister raised the gas price at midnight, the Governor General back in those days devalued the Belizean dollar. Thank God for us, because that is what set George Price and Robert Turton, it's my mother-in-law's father, or great-grandfather, set them on the warpath to oust the British. That freedom to determine our own destiny, the freedom to choose who will represent us in the 2024 municipal elections. Madam Palacio, have no fear, the UDP will take care of Belmopan very well. And the next general elections, with all their flaws and failures, the one thing I must give the Briceño administration credit for, I must thank you for your ability to unite people from all walks of life in abject disappointment and disgust for the pain and suffering Belizeans are experiencing with the highest cost of living and the lowest quality of life ever. PUP, whether it is my good friend Mr. Smiling Meats, who thought foolishly that once the PUP came in he would do even better, and UDP, can't forget Santiago Castillo, who left the UDP to go to the PUP and now he's closing his business. There's no discrimination. All of us are definitely united. Our unison voice is a discuss with this government. In every municipality across Belize, the unity, as I said, is united with one voice, calling for this government to go, and to go now. OWT. Therein lies the glory of Independence Day, a celebration of freedom and democracy. They can't do this in Cuba. They can't do this in other countries where the opposition can take the podium and speak and give their opinion as to the state of affairs. Because we will never progress if everyone is sitting and clapping and telling the emperor that he still has clothes when he is obviously naked. With all euphoria and adrenaline of celebration, Independence Day must always be a day of sober reflection and renewal of purpose. While I'm sure the Prime Minister will tell you about his ribbon cutting of all the projects that the UDP government started, that they condemned, Coastal Road, Sartineja, Caracol, Halover Bridge, and the list never ends. He'll tell you about his anemic GDP growth thanks to the highest fuel prices ever. We must accept that more Belizeans are impoverished than they were 3 years ago. Life is worse than it was 3 years ago. With us, we have a flour shortage, sugar shortage, rice and beans is the only thing that is left. No food security. It strikes me that perhaps the Prime Minister misread the teleprompter at the United Nations when he said he plans to reduce poverty by 50%, because he certainly has increased poverty by 50% since taking office. Sustainable development goals must not be restricted to speeches written by technocrats. Those privileged to serve as government must do as they promised in their manifesto and deliver on their social justice platform. I challenge this government to return to the social democratic ways of our national hero, George Cadle Price, the longest serving leader of this beautiful nation, whose soul must be suspended in eternal agony to see the PUP party that he founded completely abandon its commitment to poverty alleviation and our most vulnerable. You don't believe me? Under the UDP, the ministry was the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation. They removed the poverty alleviation from the ministry. I must make clear that social justice needs capitalism. We must be fully engaged with our Belizean and foreign investors. We must never malign, ostracize, and target businesses due to partisanship and corruption, as has been done with Michael Feinstein, people like Michael Ashtroff, Brad Spolido, BSI, Vulcan, and many others. We cannot create employment and truly grow the economy and close the gap of wealth disparity without investor confidence and capital. George Price described it as the mixed economy. I first met the father of our nation, Right Honorable George Price, on his birthday. Mutual friends, Troy Gabb, Lucas Spat, took me to his birthday party that they were having on Spat's compound before he passed away in September of 2011. At the official ceremony commemorating Price's passing on Tuesday, while I laid the wreath for the opposition at his resting place, I knelt and said a prayer asking the Creator to bless all Belizeans with the power to find within us that George Price spirit of peaceful revolution, that spirit of social justice, that spirit of nation building that propelled Price to make incomparable contributions to our independence and national development. We are now confronted with a new revolution, a new battle in the fight for economic independence, equality, and social justice. George Price, along with Philip Golson and others, did their part to make us an independent nation. Now it is our responsibility. Our, not the state, not the opposition, our, all of us, to continue to build Belize into an equitable, just democracy with freedoms and opportunities for all. We must be ignited to strive to be George Price, Golson, Maud Williams of our day, and resist against poverty, inequity, illiteracy, and dependency. We must all lead the new, peaceful revolution for economic freedom, self-sustainability, and inclusion. I believe in Belizeans. I know the potential of Belizeans. I'm living proof of what we can achieve, what we can overcome, despite the odds. I know we have the power, especially our young people. We are a majority young nation. And you young people have the power to come together and dismantle the systems of oppression, the systems of corruption and cronyism, the systems of discrimination and wealth disparity. Belizeans have the power to reimagine what Belize could be and shatter all glass ceilings as we unite to fulfill our destiny for a more just, equitable, and better Belize. With hope, unity, and renewed vision, let us go from punishment to prosperity. Happy Independence Day, Belize.
Thank you for your remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you something that I think will bring a smile to your face and a song to your heart. We're going to present to you a musical item that is a tribute to the iconic Belizean band, the Professionals. It's a medley consisting of some of the most memorable pieces from their repertoire being performed by the Benqueviejo Marching Band, along with vocalists Nicole Craig, Denise Castillo, Rojani Perriott, and Tremet Perriott, saxophone soloist Chris Bradshaw, and accompanying musicians. The music was arranged by Alexander Evans, and it's being performed under his directorship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to give you the tribute to the Professionals.
I think the shine curve, the one by
the pleasures that you will share. That paradise is Versailles, where you will find everything's okay. And if you are after fun and laughter, I'm here today.
At birds eye, open your heart to love.
The stars will shine bright in the sky above. Music will play for you and your senorita. Magic guitars will strum,
And you will hum the melody they play.
at bird's eye, it will be time to dance. Your heart will thrill to a new romance. Everything makes you feel like a king, and you'll be coming back to bird's eye.
I can't take it. I'm so lonely, gee, I miss you so. I can't take it. Oh, I wonder why you had to go. But baby, every night I wake up crying. Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart, you on my mind. But baby, every night I wake up crying. Tears on my pillow,
Thank you. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our Belize. That is Belize. Our school children, joined by some of our musical masters, you see the blend of ages, you see the blend of cultures, you see the nod to our musical history, to the professionals, and you see that we join forces, we join our talents, we join our hearts and our energies to create beautiful music that today teaches and inspires. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our Belize. Happy birthday, Belize. And now, with that little bit of music and that little bit of pep in our step, we're very happy to welcome this morning to the podium for his Independence Day remarks our very own Prime Minister, the Honorable John Briceño.
I need to start off by apologizing on behalf of all Belizeans. We Belizeans are loving, respectful, warm people. So I apologize on that display that we saw a while ago. But on a happier note, I think I want us to give the Benquevio del Carmen Marching Band another round of applause. No, that represents Belize. And Major Kelman, I received your message last night. I felt the sadness in your message that the Major is going to be leaving us shortly. He even made a point that his firstborn was born here in Belize, a Belizean. And so I want to thank you, you and your wife, on behalf of the government and the people of Belize for the wonderful work that you've done at the Salvation Army. And the people are going to take after you will have some big shoes to fit. So we wish you well in Jamaica. No disrespect to our Jamaicans, but you know, Belize is a nicer place to live. So I think I'm allowed to get away with that one. His Excellency, the Infrela Salam, Governor General of Belize, good morning. You look beautiful this morning, as always, may I add. To the Chief Justice, good morning. So wonderful to see you. I don't see you often. I hardly ever speak to you, but it's also wonderful to be here with you. To the Leader of the Opposition, my brother. I say no more. Mayor Sharon Palacio, thank you so much for giving us your report on the work that you did here in Belmopan for the past 3 years. And you are right that usually women have a more difficult time. And trust me, I hear it every day from my wife. Rosanna always scold me about that. And saying, well, no, men think that you know everything. Well, we don't. So thank you very much also for that the work that you have done for the people of Belmopan and by extension for Belize. And may I note also that Mayor Palacio was also an educator, just like my wife. Well, my wife is retired now. I know a celebrity, you have no money, you don't collect no money, and government is not paying her as the work that she does as special envoy. She tells me that every month, actually. Reminds me that about the work that she does. Francis Fonseca, Minister Fonseca, is not here today. He's in Belize City, but I also must acknowledge the wonderful work that he has done in organizing these September celebrations. Actually, they don't refer to it as September celebration, so please forgive me, Cabinet Secretary, because you're going to scold me. Because growing up, we only used to celebrate from September. But under the leadership of Francis, the celebrations start way before. So now they refer to as the celebrations calendar. So I stand corrected, CABSEC. But I need to acknowledge the work that he and his team and Mitch and the Ministry of Education and everyone have been doing for the past I think this is the third year that they are CEO, the third year, right? That you are, I mean, congrats to everybody. Please tell them that we are so grateful and pleased with the wonderful work that you have done. I see Madam Speaker. At least they just referred Madam Speaker. They never put the other adjective, but thank you, welcome. And the President of the Senate, who is here with us, members of the Diplomatic Corps and Diplomatic and Consular Corps, members of the House of Representatives. I see Minister Dolores here with us, and Brother Oscar. Also, I see the Commissioner of Police and the Coast Guard and DDF. Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here. My fellow Belizeans, again, good morning. And this day, the 21st of September, lifts an enlivened nation to the pinnacle of our annual celebrations calendar, as together we salute the various milestones of our glorious march to statehood. On behalf of all Belizeans, I welcome the many distinguished visitors who have traveled great distances to show solidarity and to show respect. All Belizeans are grateful for your presence here today, and I thank our citizens in every village, town, and city who have joined us in person and in spirit, the many events of our celebration calendar. True to tradition, my remarks today have been preceded by the always imaginative critique of the Leader of the Opposition. How fitting it is for him to fulfill his obligation and to do so even on this paramount day of national unity. In doing so, he demonstrates to our guests and to the world that our democracy is high-spirited and our Constitution is vibrant. Taking stock of our nation's standing at 42 compels a recognition of the existent regional and global conditions. Lamentably, the times are turbulent. A vicious war rages for a second year in Europe, the first conflict of its kind since the end of World War II. Climate change ravages the planet, from superstorms menacing our region, to the forest fires in the Northern Hemisphere, to the catastrophic floods in Africa and Asia. A surge of inflation wreaks havoc on the pocketbooks of those who can least afford to pay more for the staples of living. A deluge of debt of every stripe, sovereign, personal, and commercial, risk reversing the post-pandemic recovery, threatening to erode decades of advances for humanity. At 42, the downside risks appear formidable and intimidating for a small, open democracy such as ours. Despite these obvious and very real challenges, the results of our constant labors since the election of November 2020 shows that Plan Belize, our national plan, our North Star, is not just working, but working far better than the optimists imagine. I want to share with you today just a few snapshots of these successes. And I'm going to send the Leader of the Opposition a copy of the speech. Last week, as an example, the IMF concluded this mid-year review, where staff and the authorities agreed that 2023 will see economic growth and an expansion of 2022. And just as Belize vastly outperformed the IMF projections in both 2021 and 2022, we are confident that 2023 will extend this trend of actual performance, surpassing forecasted performance. Presently, unemployment is at a historic low, 2.8%. That's as close as Belize has ever been to full employment. Especially pleasing is the forecast for domestic inflation, expected to fall from 6.1% last year to 3.7% this year. The explosive economic growth we have managed, along with the unprecedented bounty of new jobs, has not come at the expense of overspending and new debt. In fact, a primary fiscal surplus of 1.2% is projected for this year, while the public debt is anticipated to fall from a high of 133% to below 60% of GDP. And we are working to reduce the public debt by significant margins. Belize's financial system has regained its pre-pandemic strength. Central bank reserves exceeded $500 million, or 4.5 months of imports, well beyond the recommended 3-month standard. The banking system is liquid. Non-performing loans stand at the prudential 5% level, and the Central Bank Act has only recently been revamped to further fortify the toolkit of the regulator to fulfill its vital mandate. In sum, then, the economy is booming. Belizeans are working. Our dollar peg is safe, and the medium-term prospects are exceptionally promising. No wonder, therefore, that a few weeks ago, when the second annual investment summit convened on idyllic Hamburger Ski, there were waves of confidence and cheer about investment opportunities in Belize. Focusing on Belize's potential for orange economic growth, this latest edition of our investment summit attracted serious commercial interest from every continent, underscoring our limitless promise in art, culture, research, science, and technology. 600 registrants and $300 million estimated in pledged new investments are unmistakable signals that our investment pitch is bearing bountiful fruit. But the vision of our party has always stretched beyond just stony statistics to that promised land of social progress brought about by what the father of independence called the mixed economy. The surging economic growth, if it is to be sustained, requires more energy, clean energy. In pursuit of this objective, government signed a $144 million loan agreement with the Saudi Fund for Development for the construction of a 60-megawatt solar plant, an ambitious endeavor we expect will also receive support from the World Bank. Clean and independent energy will complement the multiple investments underway in power distribution, water and sewage systems, and a national road network that will facilitate optimal product and service delivery and distribution, particularly for the foundational sectors of tourism and agriculture. Belize has been blessed with bountiful and valuable natural resources, and their ecosystem services are central to our economic sectors and development. Our natural assets are complemented by our cultural assets in developing these three important pillars in our economy and development. The industrial strategy with blue, green, and orange policies is a work in progress that aligns with my government's vision, which is to develop a thriving, nature-positive economy that is people-centric. Last year, I told you about plans to convert sargassum collected from the sea into fuel for energy. Last week, the investors and designers were here and are predicting that by this time next year, the construction of their facility will be well underway. Development that does not lift the people to a better quality of life lacks legitimacy. Inequitable growth cannot sustain an open society. Vitalized by this conviction, government's investments in education, health, and citizen security have reached unprecedented heights. $90 million has been secured, again from the Saudi Fund for Development, to construct a new tertiary-level hospital on the University of Belize's campus here in Belize. And attached to that hospital, we plan to attach a medical school, all here in Belmopan in Belize. This is the first new tertiary hospital to be constructed in 30 years. At the same time, funding has been increased for anchor hospital facilities called Houston, the KHMH, as well as for regional hospitals and for clinics throughout the country. This year, the NHI was expanded to include the Orange Walk district, bringing virtually free primary health care access to over 220,000 Belizeans. No less than 20 cents of every recurrent dollar in this new year's national budget will go to the education system. You could clap, Mayor. I was not referring to the leader, I was referring to you. Thanks. Want even a water hut? No Belizean should be out of school because he or she cannot afford the cost of schooling. Quite the opposite. Belize cannot afford for even a single student to forgo learning because of their economic standing. Over 20,000 students from primary school to university have benefited from scholarships or financial assistance from the Ministry of Education at a value of close to $10 million. Madam Speaker, I need that fan up here. 9 schools are now a part of the Education Upliftment Project, Together We Rise, which provides free tuition, uniforms, books, digital devices, and healthy meals. This will expand to an additional 10 schools in the next fiscal year. As with so many countries in the hemisphere, citizen security remains a foremost challenge, primarily because of the so-called curse of geography. Drugs flow north, guns flow south. Their proceeds soil governance systems and pervert law and order. If multilateralism is a prerequisite to save the planet from the ravages of climate change, an equal dose of this medicine is urgently needed to suppress transnational crime. We are more convinced than ever that the core of these multilateral cooperation programs must focus on citizen well-being and citizen opportunity rather than solely security and law enforcement. At the root of migration is an absence of opportunity. Hermanos beliceños, el tema este año de nuestro aniversario de la independencia captura con tanta claridad este momento de la historia. Nuestra visión se renueva, nuestra esperanza arde y nuestras manos se unen en una marcha imparable hacia adelante. A los 42 años, como nación, seguimos enfrentando desafíos obvios y muy reales. Sin embargo, los resultados de nuestro trabajo constante desde las elecciones de noviembre del 2020 muestra que Plan Belice, nuestro plan nacional, no solo está funcionando, sino que funciona mucho mejor de que los optimistas imaginaron. Estoy convencido que así como Belice superó ampliamente las proyecciones del FMI, tanto como el 2021 como el 2022, confiamos que en el 2023 ampliará esta tendencia de desempeño real que va a superar el desempeño previsto. Hoy, como portadores de la antorcha de la causa perdurable, renuevo el compromiso inquebrantable que nuestro gobierno, con una nación más equitativa, más próspera y más inclusiva, en paz consigo misma y con la comunidad de naciones. 43 years ago, at the brink of independence, George Price spoke of a peaceful, constructive, progressive revolution. It was then, and it is now, a revolution against a system that was inhumane, unjust, wrong, and unjustifiable. Mr. Price called for a wave of nationalism and national unity, an awareness of the beauty and wealth of Belize, a consciousness of the oneness of all Belizeans, and an appreciation of the common heritage and common destiny for all the Belizean people. Today, as the torchbearers of that enduring cause, I renew our unshakable commitment to a more equitable, a more prosperous, and a more inclusive nation at peace with itself and with the community of nations. This year's theme captures with such clarity this moment in history. Our vision is renewed, our hope burns, and our hands joined in an unstoppable forward march. And with the guidance of our Creator and the support of our people, we keep ever moving forward. To all Belizeans at home and abroad, we proclaim, long live Belize, que viva Belize, Happy Independence Day. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, PM. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we disperse to enjoy our respective Independence Day celebrations, we all are invited to Orange Walk. So, you know, I hope somebody cooked lunch. We have one tacos. What else do we eat on Independence Day in Belize when we're in Orange Walk? We have one more treat for you this afternoon. Well, it's almost afternoon, it's morning. We have now a musical item that is going to be performed. It's a collaboration between the Pallotti Orchestra, the Independence Day Choir, an assortment of steel panists and musicians, and soloist Denise Castillo. The piece they are performing, Umoja, was written, composed, arranged, and directed by Alexander Evans, and it was Belize's 2017 National Song Competition winner. Umoja is the Swahili word for unity. Evans wrote this song as a call to all Belizeans that we must all celebrate and embrace the majesty, beauty, diversity, and richness of our Belize, and that the future and prosperity of our nation is the responsibility of each and every one of us. That in order to create the utopia we all deserve, we must stand in unity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to give you the musical item, Umoja.
A nation brimming with hope, potential overflowing. My hope, a country budding with pride, whose beauty is unsurpassed. far still to go, a land that's striving to find its way. Our forefathers struggled for sovereignty, and now the fight is up to all are we. Stand in unity, yes, for the sake of our country. Now we must stand in unity, because it's up to you and me. My people stand in solidarity, rescue our community, fight for this true and we love, believe. Our home, a people oh so diverse, a nation naming for peace. Our home, a land that's searching for self, a hunt that we must not fail. Our home, a land was blessed from the start, a place that's striving to find its path. We must no longer squander our riches away, and now the change we seek begins today. Stand in unity, yes, for the sake of our country. Now we must stand in unity, because it's up to you and me. My people stand in solidarity, rescue our community, fight for this true world we love. Believe it's time for us to stand as one. Time to save this young land we love. It's time we learn to cherish our country. Let's do it before it's too Stand in unity, yes, for the sake of our country. You must stand in unity, because it's up to you and me. My people stand in solidarity, rescue our community, fight for this true world we love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that we are all able to go about our day now with, literally, after these wonderful musical experiences, after being able to participate in the ceremony today, I do hope that you feel a sense of hope, that has been ignited, that you see where when our hands are united, we produce beautiful music and good work, and that our vision, which constantly needs to be renewed as we continue to work, continues to drive our nation forward. Whether it was, our Father of the Nation's timeless words or the timeless nature of beautiful music, we're grateful to all of you for being here. We're grateful for your presence as we celebrate Belize's birthday. And we have come to the end of our ceremony this morning. Thank you for being here, everyone. I wish you all again a very happy and a safe 42nd birthday to our beautiful Belize. We will now see the departure of our guests, beginning with Her Excellency Dame Foila Salam, Governor General of Belize, and Mr. Daniel Mendez, retired captain. And now, we have the departure of the Honorable John Briceño, Prime Minister of Belize, and Mrs. Briceño. We'll see you in Orange Walk, PM. We'll see you in Orange Walk. And now, we see the departure of the Honorable Louise Blandman, Chief Justice of Belize. Thank you. And now the departure of Honorable Moses Barrow, Leader of the Opposition. And we now see the departure of Her Worship Mayor Sharon Palacio, Mayor of Belmopan. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us this morning.